There's something quietly powerful about people who grew up in the 1970s, and psychology can explain why. If you grew up during that era, your brain developed in a rare window of human history, a time when freedom existed alongside real responsibility. No constant supervision, no digital distraction, just space to figure things out. And here's what's interesting. Most people who grew up in the 70s look at today's world and smile, not out of arrogance, but because they know something others don't. They experienced something that can never be recreated. A childhood so unstructured, so free, that decades later they still say things like, "I wish I could go back. We didn't realize how good we had it." Or the most honest summary of all, "We drank hose water, we were Pharaoh, and it was glorious." So what made the 70s so different? And more importantly, what did it do to your brain that still shows up today? The first trait psychologists point to is self-directed problem solving. And it usually began with one sentence every 70s kid remembers. "Go find something to do, or I'll find something for you to do." You knew exactly what that meant. If you admitted boredom, chores appeared instantly. So you learned quickly, figure it out yourself. Research on unstructured childhood shows that kids who had to create their own entertainment developed stronger executive function and creativity later in life. No schedules, no curated activities, you built your day from nothing. That's why you devoured books, disappeared on your bike for hours, or spent entire afternoons in the woods building forts. Your brain learned something modern childhood often skips entirely: how to create meaning without being handed stimulation. But that only explains your creativity. It doesn't explain why you stay calm when everything falls apart. That comes from the next trait, adaptive risk calibration. You climbed trees that were too high, rode bikes without helmets,
lit fireworks you absolutely shouldn't have. That was your internet. Every scraped knee, every close call, every minor disaster trained your nervous system. Developmental psychology shows that kids exposed to physical risk in play develop better threat assessment and lower baseline anxiety as adults. Your brain learned the difference between real danger and manageable risk by experiencing it, not watching it. That's why you don't panic easily. When chaos hits, you assess, adapt, and act while others freeze. But here's the part most younger generations struggle to understand. You developed what researchers call comfort with solitude. You spent hours alone in your room listening to music. You lay in the grass talking without distractions. You explored by yourself, not because you were lonely, but because nothing was demanding your attention every few seconds. Studies on pre-digital childhood show significantly lower anxiety when people are alone with their thoughts. In one modern experiment, participants chose mild electric shocks over sitting quietly for 15 minutes. That probably sounds absurd to you. You learned early that boredom isn't an emergency. Your brain never developed an addiction to constant stimulation. That's why you can wait, sit in silence, and think without discomfort. Then there's analog patience, a trait modern life actively erases. You waited a week for your favorite show. You took photos and waited days to see if they turned out. If you wanted to talk to someone, you memorized their number and hoped they were home. Research on delayed gratification links this kind of upbringing to better impulse control, stronger relationships, and long-term career success. Your childhood trained patience by default. Which is why instant gratification rarely satisfies you the way it does others. And finally, the trait that ties everything together: unsupervised autonomy wiring. At 8 years old, you left the house in the morning with one rule: be home before the streetlights came on. No tracking, no check-ins, no constant monitoring. You biked miles away, played in creeks, explored neighborhoods far from home. Back then, that was normal. Research on childhood independence shows that freedom of movement builds internal motivation, decision-making ability, and self-trust. You learn to assess situations, take responsibility, and live with consequences. Your parents weren't your friends, they were authority, and they trusted you to be competent. That's why you can plan, adapt, and think critically without needing validation. So when you feel out of place in today's world, remember this: you're not outdated. You're carrying skills that are disappearing. The independence that looks like coldness, that's competence. The comfort with silence that looks antisocial, that's depth. The ability to wait that looks like apathy, that's discipline. You survived a childhood that would alarm people today, and it didn't damage you, it built you. For a brief moment in history, childhood was both free and formative, civilized and feral at the same time. And if you lived it, you know exactly how rare that was. If you grew up in the 70s, drop a comment. And if you appreciate psychology-based content that validates who you really are, follow along, because this is just the beginning.